So this is my literacy autobiography. I want to focus on my teenage years, starting from the early teenage years in the junior high, and then moving on to my teenage years in the high school, and my literacy experiences throughout those years. So for me, junior high and those early teenage years were like starting over with my literacy and learning of culture and all those things, because I was learning English for the first time, and it felt like starting over. I remember walking in my first day in the classroom, and we had this activity where we had to write these small words like pig and wig, and learn the difference between 15 and 50. And I had this really nice teacher that, like, he really tried to help us and help us understand the meaning of these words and feel comfortable writing them and creating sentences, and even speaking small sentences. So that was a really good experience for me. Later, that junior year, I remember having more conversations with my peers in the classroom, where we would read sentences from the book that will go something like this, like, "Hi, my name is Guadalupe Martinez, what's your name?" And then they will tell you their name, and you ask them, "Oh, how are you?" And they will reply, "Oh, I'm good." And that was what it was like. At least what I remember. I also remember that we would go to the library, and in one of those trips, I found this book that I thought of as a bilingual book, because half of it was written in English and the other half was written in Spanish. And it was the same exact story, but it was told in two different languages. So I remember I will flip back and forth between the languages, trying to understand and learn new words in English, try to connect them to words that I knew in Spanish. Goodman said that, mentioned a road to literacy through demonstration, and I think that road is it was true, and it still is true, but it was true back then, especially with my homeroom teacher, who she would read to us aloud, and I want to say that I only had 3 teachers in that junior year. So most of my classes, they were with one teacher, and then PE and homeroom were with 2 different teachers. So this homeroom teacher just really stands out in my memory. She would read to us this from these books, and I don't remember what the stories were about anymore, but I remember she reading to us. I remember listening and having my book out and following along the story and really enjoying that. I think it was around that time that I started to start reading a little bit more, and going out of my way to really read that book that I will get from the library. And even if I didn't understand most of the words, sometimes I will understand enough to where I could make up what I didn't understand, and the story will still make sense. Goodman also mentioned the road to literacy through technology, and I think that television and music also play a big part in my early literacy years, because I like the music and I like the shows in television, and I did understand a lot of it, but I still liked it. And because I liked it, I would go out of my way to interact with it, and I would sing a few words that I knew in English, so that will help me practice some of those sounds in English. And with television, it's like I was trying to understand the plots and the stories. So in high school, there was a shift where I became more interested in reading. Frey mentioned that a road to literacy is it was through reading, and I think reading was really important. It still is really important to me, and I really enjoyed it. So in high school, I remember that I remember checking out these books from the library, and I remember reading the stories. I remember enjoying the stories, and I still remember what the stories were about. I actually, after I graduated high school, that I had so many, I bought the second book to Fanboy and Goth Girl. Still have it. So just really got into the stories. I remember reading the Twilight Sagas and staying up real late, reading these stories, and this was for my own enjoyment. This was never for a class. This was just me enjoying reading, which is why I joined the book club at that time. So yeah, this was definitely a really important phase in my high school years, and I didn't really thought of it as this is for my own good, to learn, to practice language. It was just I really enjoyed it, and I was learning new words through these books. So another thing that I did in my high school years was I would keep a diary, and I wouldn't write what I did every day and that sort of writing. I will write more like if something happened that day that I really had me thinking or had me feeling a certain way, then I will write that down, and I will try to make sense of what I was feeling, or why was I angry, or why was I upset, or why was I sad. So that was my diary. Between 2008 and 2010, I wrote about 49 poems, and I posted them online on a site. I think at that time it was like an emotional outlet for me, just creating these poems. I went back and I was able to find some of them. My grammar, it definitely needed a lot of improvement. I have words that sounded similar, so I didn't, when I was typing them, I didn't go back to edit any of it. So I had words like make, that in that sentence the word make didn't fit in. It should have said made, or it should have said made instead of make for it to be a coherent sentence, but it didn't say that. And like I said, this was still early on in my English development, so I definitely still had a lot of work to do. Another thing that I did was songwriting. Now, doesn't mean I was any good at it, but I liked it for the same reason that I like poetry. And I remember going to my art teacher and with this friend, and we were there to rehearse, and we ended up just for the most part just talking about the lyrics and talking about going off topic from there and just connecting. Vasudevan, if that's how you pronounce it, I'm probably totally butchering her name. She also mentioned the importance of teachers establishing a connection with students, and I think my art teacher and I we established a sort of connection through through the art class and to the gatherings we did for song rehearsing, which really were more just having conversations. So in my junior year, I bought my first manga, and I became aware of manga, graphic novels, and comic books that year. Here's that book, my first manga book, so it will be this one right here. And I love the art on it. I love the black and white. I love the values. I just really liked it, and I liked the story, and it just got me into that. I also got into portrait drawing and in and after graduation, and after looking a little more into mangas and graphic novels and comic books, I decided to start my own story by using a manga and comic book style for it. I didn't get to finish the story, but it definitely was a learning experience, and it was something that I enjoyed. And I had to stop mostly because I started college and I just didn't have the time or the passion at that time for it, just to keep going with it. But it was a learning experience, and I definitely enjoyed it. So that's it for my autobiography. Thank you.